Governments don't fail because they lack technology. They fail because they lack direction. We are not just building apps or digital products. We have a bold vision to build the most convenient digital state in the world. And we are building an entirely new way of thinking about the government: fast, transparent, efficient, and citizen first.
Welcome to the Digital Government Podcast. Tune in to discover the future of governance and ways of getting there.
Welcome back, everyone, from your usual host, Federico Plantera, to another episode of the Digital Government Podcast. One when today, I would say, we are traveling through space and time, but directly to the heart of, I would say, arguably one of the most remarkable public sector transformations of our time, which is basically Ukraine's digital leap. Why one of the most remarkable? Because over the past 5 years, Ukraine has actually managed to redefine what is possible in digital governance, and also under quite complex geopolitical conditions that we all know about. But from launching a world-renowned digital identity and services platform to also then embedding really interoperability across state institutions with Trembita, then there are many things to highlight about this journey. And to reflect on it, I'm joined by two front row guests into that. The first that I would like to introduce is Valeria Ionan, Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. Valeria, a very warm welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
And the second is Hannes Astok, Executive Director at eGovernance Academy.
Hello, everyone.
Valeria, in order to reflect on the journey, I would say to start exactly from this little time frame that we gave just for reference purposes, I would say, because I'm imagining that obviously plans in general and ideas about digital transformation in Ukraine were happening even before, let's say, 5 years ago. But I would focus for a moment on what was the catalyst for change in that sense to begin with, meaning Ukraine's digital transformation, as I said, it is widely recognized for for the speed that it had, but also the ambitions that it set out. Was there maybe like some sense of urgency, let's say, as if digital, quote unquote, had to be the way forward? And what also were the factors that allowed for this acceleration?
Oh, that's a great question. So, for us, digital wasn't just a choice, it was a necessity, I would say. And from day one, we believed that technology could do what outdated bureaucracies never could: rebuild trust, remove barriers, and give people back their time and dignity. Ukraine couldn't afford and can't afford to move slowly. At that time, almost 6 years ago, we were dealing with legacy systems, growing public frustration, and the urgent need to strengthen our resilience across defense, healthcare, education, and the economy. So yes, there was and there is an urgency, but there is also something more powerful, which is a vision. Under the leadership of our Deputy Prime Minister, Mikhailo Fedorov, we reimagined how the state could work. We built a team of reformers from business, design, law, and tech, and we moved fast because we had to. People were ready, society was ready, and we knew that every day meant more frustration, inequality, and risk. So actually, we've built the DIA ecosystem as a philosophy of governance. DIA app is our state super app used by 22 million Ukrainians with digital documents, signatures, more than 40 digital services available in the app. DIA portal, which is the platform for public services with more than 130 services available. DIA business, a great project for the support of small and medium enterprises, helping them to increase their level of digital maturity. DIA Education, a national edutainment platform for reskilling in digital literacy. DIA Seed, a unique legal and tax space for IT. DIA Engine, an open source low-code solution for creating state registries. And, each part of this ecosystem is designed with a clear purpose: to simplify life, to empower citizens, and build resilience. Whether helping entrepreneurs grow their businesses, supporting citizens during the full-scale Russian invasion, or improving digital skills, the DIA ecosystem is about creating a Ukraine that works for everyone, for its people. So I think that it is important to mention The Ministry of Digital Transformation was created in 2019 as a response to President Zelensky's promise to build a state in a smartphone. And starting from 2019, the Ministry of Digital Transformation actually is working on building the most convenient digital state in the world. But before 2019, I think that Ukraine was already full of potential, however, structurally fragmented. There was already some digitalization efforts, so we were not starting from zero, obviously, but those efforts weren't systemic and definitely not at the scale that we've since achieved. It wasn't just infrastructure or laws, though, yes, both were outdated. The bigger challenge was institutional, legacy systems, siloed thinking, and a lack of coordination between ministries made it almost impossible to move fast or build trust with citizens. Most public services at that time were still paper-based, slow, and ad hoc. The mindset was stuck. Innovation was definitely something you would not expect from the government. But at the same time, there were some strengths. For example, our tech sector was and is vibrant and literally full of world-class talent. So then when the ministry was created, I think that we already had some foundation to build on. And starting from that time, the minister, Fedorov, was appointed as a deputy prime minister for digitalization. And by the way, in March, his position was widened to Deputy Prime Minister for Education, Science, Technology and Innovation. Then in 2020, we have created a new position, which is Chief Digital Transformation Officer. So those are people who operate on the level of Deputy Minister or Deputy Governor. And thus, our minister, who is also the deputy prime minister, he can coordinate all of the reforms on national and regional level in digital transformation. And this is one of the cornerstones of Ukraine's success, to have an efficient organizational structure to make sure that digital transformation is everywhere, is sustainable, and that we have our own ambassadors for digital transformation that make not just people fall in love with digital transformation, but also the government institutions to understand the real value of digital transformation and really move forward. Also, the last thing which I would say here, because I think it's really important, is that the creation of Digital Transformation Committee in the Parliament was also an essential step towards forming the legal framework for digital reforms. Now, this committee actually helps us to pass necessary digitalization laws and quickly advance digitalization solutions. So we made digitalization a pop culture in Ukraine, and now our DE ecosystem is Lovemark in Ukraine. We are not just building apps or digital products. We have a bold vision to build the most convenient digital state in the world. We are building trust for digitalization, and we are building an entirely new way of thinking about the government: fast, transparent, efficient, and citizen first. And still, we have a long way to go.
And Valeria, you mentioned pop culture. I will get exactly to culture and change, actually, societal change in a little bit. But Hannes, I will call you into the conversation because I have a question for you and about your past experience, which is sense of urgency, the fastest and most efficient digital state, let's say, in the world. Does anything ring the bell, maybe also based on your own past experience of seeing what has happened in Estonia in that sense? And then maybe also differences that you've seen between how that process took shape in Estonia and what instead has been happening all the way through these past 5 to 7 years, basically, in Ukraine.
Yeah, we started our works in Ukraine with national government in 2014, and in this year, actually, there was just national agency for digital government was established with 3 staff members. So it was very initial steps were made, but I think those people who were working there, and some of them still continuing today in the ministry, were very much in line what is happening today. That we started with a back office improvement, starting to design and implement the data exchange system Trembita, what is working as an invisible backbone for the DIA. And I think in this way, in 2019, when already the ministry was formed and moving fast forward, there was a solid basis for the back office. So, and actually what the ministry did very rapidly afterwards was building a very a very user-friendly front office, what is DIA and many services around it. So basically what we see that it's gradual change, but at the same time also through those 10 years we have seen that there is a clear need for leadership. And as we have seen that both Deputy Prime Minister Mikhailo Fedorov, but also previous Prime Minister Groisman, who put a lot of efforts on the digitalization, they leaded the change and still leading the change, because the digital government and change management, it's not that much about technology. Technology must be there, but we need to change the people, to change the mindset, to change the understanding how government is providing public services for the citizens. And this is the most important part, and this is the most hardly changeable part in any country. So I think the current government, but also the predecessor, have made this change happening, both through the organizational, legal, and on the top of it, technical changes. So I think somehow Ukraine made it by the book, because you need both organizational changes, you need user-friendly environment where people can easily get the services as DIP is today, but you need also back office where things are actually happening. So in this sense, we believe that Ukraine is definitely one of the best samples in the world, how digital government should function. There is definitely a lot of things to improve, but it's in all of the countries, there is a lot of things to improve, including Estonia. So the journey throughout last 11 years has been really remarkable, and really serving the sample for the rest of the world, how things could be changed, both technologically, organizationally, and through the leadership.
Federico, let me briefly echo on what Hannes said. Trumpita has become really one of the invisible engines powering Ukraine's digital transformation. And, we often say that true digital transformation starts behind the scenes. So Trumpita here is a perfect example. Trumpita is built on Estonia's X Road, and we are deeply grateful to our Estonian partners for sharing both the technology and vision. More broadly, Estonia has been one of our most consistent partners in building a digital state, from infrastructure to advisory support. And this partnership has been not only technical, but also values driven. So we share the same belief that governments can be smart, can be transparent, and can be human centered. But the technology alone isn't the hardest part. As again, Hannes said, the real challenge was, as always and everywhere, I think, it's institutional coordination and trust. So we had to create really a culture shift where ministries and agencies stopped working in silos and started seeing data exchange as a shared national responsibility. And that required to establish clear procedures for access and use of data, aligning with legal frameworks and security protocols. And most importantly, we are coming again back to this, building trust. So Trumpita now connects more registries than ever and enables seamless service delivery at all levels of government. And just to give you a brief understanding what it looks like in action with some concrete statistical data, over 10 billion secure data exchanges have been processed since the launch. Behind, for example, simple e-mortgage requests in DIA, Trumpita coordinates data from 11 registries. So for citizens, it's just a few clicks, but it actually coordinates data between lots of different registries. And for example, in 2024 alone, over 116K newborns were registered through eBaby, over 90K civil registry documents reviewed, and over 15K marriages submitted, all via DIA powered by Trumpita. So it's not just about convenience. Trumpita has real integrity benefits. For example, Trumpita is also used to run the portal of the state electronic system in the construction sector. The system has accelerated the processing of documents on the portal and made it possible to obtain construction permits without bribes, as 100% of construction services can be obtained online. That's a huge reform. And, digitalization is generally about anti-corruption. And there is a joke in Ukrainian government that the Ministry of Digital Transformation is the best anti-corruption state institution, because we are digitizing everything. And you obviously can't digitize cows, or you can't digitize bureaucracy. You can't digitize corruption. You actually have to build the new system from scratch, would be transparent, and efficient for everyone. Also, with the help of Trembita, the Ministry of Finance monitors and verifies social payments. So, in short, Trembita isn't just a system, it's a shift how state functions from reactive to proactive, from fragmented to coordinated, and basically from opaque to accountable. And we could not have achieved this without the support from our colleagues from Estonia. And we would like to express our gratitude also to IGA separately for the daily work on that. I think it's a great reminder that when countries work together and share their best ideas and products, everyone benefits and the citizen always wins.
Valeria, from the things that you brought into the conversation now, what stuck with me is also the topic exactly like of trust, and of collaboration. I would say that this is like a word that, especially when it comes to like siloed organizations and making organization and people come together exactly to improve and better the output of their work, exactly in the end to serve citizens better, then you mentioned before also the topic of like we made digital pop culture in Ukraine, But I would say that exactly to bring interoperability forward in that way, and as it happened, for example, with Trembita in Ukraine, then there needs to be trust exactly not only in the fact that collaboration is the way forward, but also just trust in the in a vision, and at the same time, and this is something that definitely comes from a leadership point of view, and that is also about bringing forward a certain cultural change, we might say, in the way that people work and organizations cooperate. So in that sense, I would ask you, what is the kind of change in the sense that you have seen, for example, happen in Ukraine that then brought interoperability forward, that then allowed organizations to pool their data and to exchange data, and ultimately then to serve citizens better, let's say? Or the side question would be, has there been any change? Was it there all along and just simply needed some technical enablement to happen?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So when we launched DIA, our goal was clear. Our vision was clear to build the most convenient digital state in the world, and our goal was clear as well to make public services accessible, fast, and digital first. But what we've witnessed over the past years goes actually far beyond digitalization, because DIA has reshaped expectations, behaviors, and trust. And let me give you again some statistics. According to the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology, 55% of Ukrainians use its services, and satisfaction rate is 84%, 5 points higher than the last year. And that's not just about good UX. It's people choosing convenience, transparency, and efficiency over old and paper-based systems. So DIA really had become a part of daily life of Ukrainians, from registering a baby or opening a business to applying, for example, for an aid during the full-scale Russian invasion. Citizens now expect services to appear in the app and not somewhere at the offline office. And this is a fundamental shift in government's philosophy, digital by default. It's also have reshaped the government culture, where once there was like a lot of skepticism towards online services, now there is actually competition among agencies to be the next service in DIA. And public servants are learning to think like product managers. So bureaucracy is out and giving way to user-centric design. And just probably trying to answer your question more concrete, what surprised us most in all of that way is probably like 3 things. The first one is how fast digital transformation really became, as we call it, a pop culture, but basically it is a world for us to explain how massively did it go. So DIA, it isn't just a tool, it made digital transformation aspirational, and it showed that really big changes in the government are possible. Secondly, how wartime really accelerated adoption. In moments of crisis, first when it was COVID pandemic and then the full-scale Russian invasion, DIA became a really necessary tool for like every Ukrainian citizen, from digital COVID certificate to e-document for internal displaced person fleeing war zones, to e-recovery, for example, for those rebuilding their homes. Every feature solves a real and urgent need. And actually how feedback fuels the roadmap. So DIA, it's a living system. We constantly collect user insights to improve every detail. That's why I think both the DIA app and the DIA state portal and generally DIA ecosystem remain among the most popular government services in Ukraine. So this is something I think important, worth mentioning.
Yeah, if I may have some observations. When we started like 10 years back in Ukraine, no doubts the corruption was a huge issue in Ukraine, also both in like a low level and high level. And things have been changing definitely a lot. But I think one of the reasons why people want to use online systems and DIA portal and application is that they don't want to meet with the government officials. They have so bad memories from last 20 years of each meeting when everyone was asking for the bribe. So in this case, as former president of Estonia, Toomas Ilves loves to say that it's hard to bribe the computer. So if you can go to get the services without any human interaction, people are very much voting for it and using for it. And the second observation is that no doubt that the war and the Russian full-scale aggression to Ukraine actually made all the online services absolute necessity. So in worst case, there was like 6 million or even more refugees from Ukraine, somewhere in Europe and other countries, and almost 10 million internally displaced people who didn't have any chance to visit any government office or the local government office. In many cases, the local government records, paper records, were totally destroyed in some cities, and still are. So this was absolute necessity and the only opportunity to communicate with the government and get the services through the DIA app. And that's why I think it's very popular. And the response what the government provided through the DIA app and improving and adding the services, this was absolutely correct and the best possible response for the citizens to get the services, whatever they need. So even with last motivation package, it's we don't want this kind of motivation packages, but historically now we can record that this works and this made this app both demanded, but also from supply side. There is no other ways still because war is going on. No other ways for many services to provide them rather than through the app.
And I would add to that also just one question to Valeria as well, is the fact that basically we have mentioned before how construction services and like construction permits can be accessed and 100% online basically. But that means that in any case, increasing accountability and increasing trust, even if maybe it can start from sector specific applications, then sort of like goes on to show that kind of like trust and accountability then trickles down to other domains as well, no? And then the trust that people have in and businesses have in government then just increases at large, right?
Well, yeah, I would just echo what Hannes said, but with another wording. Like, we really believe that the less government people have in their lives, the better. So that's why we are trying actually to move fast with all the digitalization efforts and just quickly reacting on the corruption and digital transformation. I would also say that, we've spent like over 5 years in the Ministry of Digital Transformation building the most convenient digital state in the world, not only to save time, but also to cut off the opportunities basically for corruption. And if to speak if we have seen the impact, we do see it. For example, in 2020, 2021, the anti-corruption and economic effects of digitalization of services amounted to 16.3 billion UA hryvnias. According to a study conducted by our international partners, the real anti-corruption and economic impact of the introduction of top online services on DIA is as follows. So for construction services, it was 11.2 billion UA hryvnias, services for private entrepreneurs, 267 million, e-baby 41 million UA hryvnias. And for example, just recently, the East Europe Foundation conducted another research on anti-corruption effects on digitalization. And according to these results, the real anti-corruption and economic effect of digitalization in Ukraine over the last 4 years, 2021-2024, is 66 billion UA hryvnias. And basically, this research covers 32 services, which account for 25% of all e-services in DIA, which were analyzed. So the numbers are actually even higher. And among the services that have the greatest effect are construction services, as mentioned, services for individual entrepreneurs, the e-baby, driver license replacement, healthcare, subsidies, pensions, civil registry offices, etc. Also, the illustrative case was the construction that we spoke a little bit before, and we are also working on the digitalization of the social sphere. I really hope that we could move even faster with our digitalization efforts. And of course, vulnerabilities remain, especially in those sectors that haven't been fully digitized yet, like parts of the social security system, certain areas of land management, or legacy processes still operating offline. But we are working to close those gaps every day. Everything takes time. However, I think the main lesson is to show that if you have a political will, if you have a concrete vision, if you have the organizational structure, then you could do really fantastic things even during 1 year. And 4 years, 5 years, it's a huge period to have an opportunity to show the result.
In that sense, it also tells me that basically the story of digitalization in Ukraine, it's maybe up to a certain extent has been as well, despite, let's say, despite Russia's aggression to the country, also kind of like a story of continuity in the sense that the plans started already long before basically the war made it even more of a necessity to move to the digital sphere. And then at the same time, it tells us, I would say, that that in the look ahead, let's say, Ukraine is actually managing to capitalize on all those things learned and thought of, let's say, already before the war started, that then have been pushed and ramped up even more, let's say, in terms of efforts and capability that was needed to bring them forward during the wartime. And that then obviously they will play a big role in rebuilding and recovery efforts as well. But Valeria, in that sense, what do you think that are maybe the priorities, let's say, that should be set at this point to ensure this resilience, this economic growth, this inclusivity, let's say, and the promotion of all of that in the current and immediate future plans, let's say, for digital Ukraine in this sense? And then I will ask a few questions to wrap up the podcast. One on international collaboration, because we spoke of collaboration within the country, and we should also, I think, at a more umbrella level as well. And then also another question to Hannes of replication, copying, something that we say that cannot happen, but I'm assuming that many hearing this podcast episode and the story of digital Ukraine will definitely think, oh, I want that too. So, so Valeria, let's first focus on exactly the look ahead, let's say.
The look ahead is really inspiring or exciting, but at least it's hopeful, because with all of the changes in our turbulent world, it's very difficult to predict the future right now, and Ukraine is fighting the aggressor. So our main goal is to fight the aggressor and to have a Ukrainian victory. But in terms of digitalization, of course, we will continue to move forward, and we will try to even increase the speed of digitalization. We are now working on National Digital Agenda 2030. We are also working on National AI Strategy, and it is expected that we would have the results till the end of this year or the first quarter of 2026. It is also important to say that recently the government of Ukraine has adopted the Ukrainian innovation strategy, which is called Win-Win. And I think that this strategy is really important for Ukraine's future, because I believe that innovations could help Ukraine to make the next economic leap. And the Win-Win strategy lays out a clear roadmap for Ukraine on how to foster breakthrough technologies, how to scale resilient economic growth, how to create opportunities for all, from researchers and startups to global investors and students. And generally, the strategic goal of this strategy is to open markets for innovation-driven sectors, develop innovation infrastructure, simplify regulation and improve access to capital, strengthen human capital and IP protection. And generally, the main thing of this strategy is prioritization of several sectors where Ukraine has to invest in order to make the next economic leap, which is defense tech, medtech, biotech, green tech, AI, secure cyberspace, semiconductors, and several others. And we have already started to work towards the implementation of the strategy, and we are very open for partnerships from governments, private sector partners, NGOs, scientists, experts. We believe that right now, there is a lot of challenges, unfortunately, in Ukraine. And if the innovative solution or product could work in Ukraine, it could work anywhere. So if we're talking about medtech, we could talk about the bionic prosthetics, the regenerating skin solutions, the new solutions for mental health, and many, many other things, as well as for defense tech, for AI, for edtech, etc. So now we are inviting our international partners to work with us together to support our pilot projects, to co-invest in win-win center of excellence across the strategic sectors, to help us scale the talent through fellowships, residencies, joint researches, and generally to ensure that Ukraine is a part of global innovation ecosystem, because honestly, we already have a lot to share.
And in the same way as organizations within the country did not have to do it all on their own, let's say, exactly understanding the value of pooling resources together, pooling capabilities together, and moving things forward. As you've just said, you're now inviting like international partners to exactly show this continuity, let's say, of support and aid as well in the next steps. What was instead the role, let's say, that these have played so far?
Well, Ukraine's digital transformation, luckily, has never been a solo journey. And from day one, a lot of international partners have played a crucial role in helping us to move faster, smarter, with greater resilience. And of course, our partnership with Estonia has been very strategic and values aligned. Estonia, a leader of digital governance, has been more just a supporter. Estonia is a mentor, co-creator, a partner for us. And, our partnership is built on mutual trust and mutual exchange. We've learned a lot on Estonian leadership, interoperability, data governance. And in return, Ukraine has shared and is sharing our own model through the DE ecosystem, which already has become a global benchmark for citizen-centric digital government. We've spoke a little bit about Trambita, but there is also a lot of other great products which we are using and working on together with Estonia. Another milestone for us is MRIG, which is the mobile governance solution developed jointly with Estonia and inspired by our own DIA app. And this pilot, which was launched in Estonia in 2023, had 85% of user satisfaction rate and now led out to a successful rollout of Estonia's new mobile app. And of course, beyond the service delivery, our collaboration runs more deeper into cybersecurity, capacity building, digital diplomacy. So, for example, under the Tallinn mechanism, Estonia coordinates the cyber support of 11 countries, helping Ukraine to protect its digital infrastructure during the full-scale Russian invasion. Also through e-governance academy, through SDEV, through Estonian clusters like a tech cluster, ICT cluster, Ukrainian and Estonian public servants can have the opportunity to exchange real knowledge, not just tools, but do lots of great things together. So I think that for us, the most important message is that, of course, we're very grateful for Estonia for all the support and our cooperation, but also it's important for us to explain to other countries that Ukraine is not just a recipient of digital aid. We are a trusted partner in global digital transformation. We have a lot to share. We have lots of experience. We have lots of tools. And if working together, we could create something really meaningful and impactful.
So Hannes, exactly, not just the recipient Ukraine, but basically the relationship between Ukraine and Estonia, with e-governance academy also being part of it, as a matter of co-creation. So this signals like something that maybe we have not mentioned that often in other examples, let's say, of digital transformation journeys where e-governance academy has played like a key role in advising, suggesting, recommending, enabling as well. So how does this look instead exactly from the point of view of one of these international partners that are supporting Ukraine in their journey and the vision?
There is a saying that if you want to go fast, you can go alone. If you want to go far, you need to go together. And I think this is echoing the idea of co-creation. So basically, there is always an option that country X can copy something from Estonia, take some existing systems, put them in place, copy the legislation, and start to work. But it's probably not working very well because the environment is different, the needs are different, technology is probably outdated already somehow. So it's much better to rethink what has done in Estonia or in case of Ukraine, what has been done in Ukraine and what we can do in some other country together. What is even better, what is in Estonia or Ukraine. We have always been dreaming that Ukraine is doing better than Estonia or any country we are working with. If they do better than Estonia, then we are winners because then we can learn from them also and do something better in Estonia. So, so in this sense, the rethinking of digital government, digital service delivery in each and every case is valuable because there is so many new technologies what are available already from this point, even when the DIF was invented and launched. So probably the next countries can do something totally more different, or maybe not totally, but at least another 10% better by using AI and other emerging technologies. So in this sense, it's really important to rethink, not just copy. But the second point is definitely that international donor community's presence and assistance is extremely important because if taking as a sample of Ukraine, we have been implementing during last, let's say, 11 years, more than 51 million euros of international donor money here through to various systems, to the capacity building, institutional capacity building, and many other actions, cybersecurity included. So this means that many governments need initial kick, including financial kick, what is coming from international donors, and afterwards, like Ukraine today already, is staying more self-financing and sustainable for also from the financial perspective and getting money from the government budget to run and improve digital government solutions. It's not happening overnight, this shift from donor financing to government own national budget financing. But as we can see from Ukraine, it's happening step by step, and this is the aim of donor assistance also, that in one day the government is already through those solutions what we are using is actually collecting much more tax money what in return could be invested to digital government systems. So I think again in this case Ukraine is a good case, excluding all the budget cuts what are related to the war and budget spending what mostly goes to the war. But even in those conditions, Ukraine has been showing remarkable sustainability to move forward with their own resources, with own stuff, and taking over the solutions from donor-supported projects.
Valeria, you mentioned explicitly that if something, for example, has been applied, implemented, and is working in Ukraine, then it means that it can also do that and do so in other places, obviously tailored to the specific context. And Hannes, we've also just mentioned how when basically as an organization, as e-governance academy, we support the digital transformation journey of a country, and then we see that they end up doing even better, let's say, than the starting references that we had, then that truly means that that everybody's winning, let's say, from that type of partnership. So one for each of you, what would be, let's say, something that you would take away, or that like a takeaway, but also a lesson learned, but rather a message to other countries and other like digital governance practitioners around the world that are looking to not even like to progress basically on in a similar way on a digital transformation journey and go as far as Ukraine has made it basically up until this point. Valeria, what would be your recommendation? What would be your one message? I know that there can be many more, but just pick one. And Hannes, then you after Valeria.
I think that the vision is foundation of everything, because without the vision, digital transformation is just a collection of tools, apps, dashboards that solve nothing at scale. And governments don't fail because they lack technology. They fail because they lack direction. And, too often I see governments that are rushing to adopt tech without actually answering the most important question, why we're doing this. That you can't digitize cows. Putting forms online is not a transformation, and true digitalization requires rethinking what the government should be, what values it should serve, how to earn trust, how to behave under pressure. And again, we are coming back to our example. We have a very concrete vision to build the most convenient digital state in the world. So everything, we are just trying to calibrate everything what we do from products and services with the vision. Does it bring closer to our vision? And if not, we're not doing this. And now, with the rise of AI, we are entering a new chapter, the chapter that actually demands a more sharper vision. And, AI won't wait for the governments to be ready. It will change, and it is already changing, how decisions are made, how services are delivered, how citizens are interacting with the state. And it won't wait whether your institution is prepared or not. So, to every government, I would say that, don't start with procurement, don't start with a hackathon, don't start with just an app, start with a vision bold enough to reorganize your system around it.
I always admire those leaders with vision, but even more, I admire the leaders who have vision and organization, because we have seen a lot of leaders with vision who disappear after 1 year and nothing is happening. So vision plus execution. Execution means organization, resources, implementation. This should happen also, and together they are actually delivering the results. As Valeria just said, that there should be a strong vision, what should be kept, definitely adjusted if needed, but we need a strong implementation mechanism across the government. Otherwise, we can just build the beautiful vision and nothing is happening. Ukraine has proved that there are both in place, vision and execution together with international donor community, and this brings good results for the Ukrainian people and businesses.
Hannes, thanks a lot to you for joining us today in this episode.
Thank you very much.
And this was also Valeria Jonanen. It was a pleasure to host you for this episode of the Digital Government Podcast, Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. Thanks for taking us through this journey. And thanks a lot also to all the listeners who tuned into this episode of the Digital Government Podcast. That's it also from your host for the day. And make sure to tune into the next ones, where I will see you all. Have a good one.
This podcast is brought to you by the eGovernance Academy. Tune in next time.